The stages of listening to Boise State Public Radio podcasts. Step 1, testing the waters. You tune into an episode or two. Nothing too serious. Step 2, you got a little hooked on one of those series like Extremely American or Scandalized, and now you're binging. No judgment, but you did listen to it in one day. Step 3, now you're subscribed to a feed. You get notifications to your phone every time there's a new daily episode of The Connector or Idaho Matters. I see where this is going. Step 4, you realize how much time you're spending with Boise State Public Radio podcasts and the fact that it doesn't cost you a dime. Step 5, you decide to step up and support your podcast listening because you can, because you want to, not because you have to. All right, now's the time, you podcast fan you. Go to boisestatepublicradio.org and click donate to support your love of Boise State Public Radio podcast listening today.
More Idaho Matters now from the studios of Boise State Public Radio News. I'm Gemma Gaudette. Well, with the first real snowfall of the winter season falling this week in the Treasure Valley, the raptors at the World Center for Birds of Prey have been checking out the white stuff, eating a lot more, and even celebrating the holidays. The center is the Peregrine Funds Education Center south of Boise, where you can get up close, nose-to-beak with all kinds of birds, including owls and hawks and eagles, even vultures. And the birds are active all year, even during these cold winter months. Tate Mason is the director of the World Center for Birds of Prey, and he's joining us to tell us more about how the birds handle this colder part of the year. Welcome back, Tate.
Thanks so much for having me, Gemma.
So, Tate, real quick, for folks who haven't been there, what is the World Center for Birds of Prey?
The World Center for Birds of Prey is the headquarters of the Peregrine Fund. Now, the Peregrine Fund is a nonprofit conservation organization with projects that benefit birds of prey all around the world. And when people visit the World Center for Birds of Prey, this place is like a lens into our projects. We teach people about the importance of the birds, how conservation is achieved at scale, and then we work to achieve those conservation goals together.
So how many raptor ambassadors do you have at the center?
There are 22 species or 22 individual birds that are here as part of our education program. But then we also have, well over 50 California condors, and the condors are here for captive breeding and release into the wild. And so we do releases typically every fall. And so that's about the birds that we have here.
So let's talk a little bit about your exhibits, because my understanding is that you have 5 live raptor exhibits inside, but you have another 3 outside. It's a little cold out there right
now. Yes,
there's
5. There's 5 raptor exhibits outside, and one of the ones is the peregrine falcon exhibit that we just built in 2023 and tells the story of the recovery of the peregrine falcon. But peregrine falcons migrate out of this region in the wintertime. And so our peregrine actually migrated inside, and we had planned for this. And we have a cliff exhibit inside. The peregrine's nice and warm. And outside now we have a new gyrfalcon here. A gyrfalcon is an Arctic falcon. It's the largest falcon in the world. It has a circumpolar distribution, meaning it's found all around the north end of the globe. And right now, there's a gyrfalcon perched at the World Center for Birds of Prey on these snowy cliffs, and it just looks amazing.
So talk a little bit about the birds themselves during the winter months. I mean, do they eat a lot more? I mean, how do they stay warm? I mean, of course, you've brought, as you said, some of them inside, but I would assume they still, reflect the fact that it's wintertime.
Yeah, correct. So the first thing, we recognize that the birds that are outside are typically birds that would be found outside in this climate. So they have natural adaptations, like even just the thick, warm feathers that the gyrfalcon would have, or even the red-tailed hawk. And then you're exactly right, keeping that caloric intake up. So the birds are eating a whole bunch during the winter time, and they're really pretty active. And so we make sure that the birds are in a comfortable environment. Some of the birds will also have heat panels. Like, for example, in the peregrine exhibit, there's a cave, and that's where the gyrfalcon is now. And in that cave, there's a heat panel. So it's almost like having a hot spring in the back of the cave for
Mm,
the falcon.
I would like something like that in the wintertime.
Yeah, it sounds
That
pretty good,
sounds
right?
sounds pretty lovely. Yeah. We've actually had Oliver, who is with your owl ambassador, on the program before. And I heard that he had a pretty good Christmas party. So can you tell us about how the birds actually celebrate the holidays?
Sure. So every year we've been doing this thing called feathered festivities. And typically it's been on Christmas Eve, but this year we moved it to the Saturday before Christmas, which happened to be winter solstice. And so we provided the all of our birds got enrichment items, which we would call them in like bird training terms, but really they were presents. And if you think about humans, we give presents to people that we appreciate, to our families and to our friends, and we appreciate these birds so much. And so we gave them their food in very interesting ways, and we associated that food with presents in a way that they could open and kind of discover and use their brains to kind of open their enrichment
Hmm.
and get their reward. And so that was just our way of kind of recognizing the birds, and we did that for the public, and that was on Saturday. I think it was the 22nd of December.
So you do a lot of special things over the winter for the birds and for folks who actually come out and see them. Can you talk a little bit about your family field trip weekends that you have coming up? I mean, what are these and what happens?
Certainly. We try to make our programming accessible to everybody. And one of the things that we like to do is make our prices a little bit lower in the winter so people can access the World Center for Birds of Prey that might not otherwise come. And so the family field trip weekends are weekends where we have free admission for kids. And that'll be January 18th and 19th and February 15th and 16th. We're going to partner with Idaho Power, and Idaho Power, we actually already partnered with them to build an exhibit called the Idaho Power Flight Lab. And this is an exhibit that talks about how we prevent raptors from getting electrocuted on utility lines in the wild. So their educators will be here talking about that and doing activities. We'll have an arts and craft room set up, and we just have fun with the kids for those 2 weekends. Now, we also have Winter Wednesdays. Every
Uh-huh.
Wednesday between now, January through February, will be half price admission for everybody. So Wednesday is a really accessible day to come on up and see us.
And Oliver the Owl is going to be a headliner at your upcoming Superb Owl Saturday in February. What other owls will be there during this activity?
Sure, Superb Owl. Now that is like the Super Bowl, but just changing the space
Hmm.
and adding the B to the super. So this is a way for us to take a culturally significant event and change it to be about owl conservation. Owls are so important to our environment, from cleaning up the rodents and keeping nature in balance. Now, the Owls are going to be, first of all, predicting the outcome of the Super Bowl, of which the
Yeah.
3 times we've done this before, they were 2 for 3. So they're pretty good at predicting the results of the Super Bowl. So the owls that will be participating will be the Faroese eagle owl, which is Oliver, also known as a milky eagle owl. We have some burrowing owls here that will be involved, a barred owl named Whisper, and and then there'll also be a barn owl named Salix, one of the new members of our team. Did I lose the audio on you there, Gemma?
I think we did lose the audio there on Gemma. Hi, Tate. It's Samantha Wright. How are you?
Good to hear your voice.
I know, right? Okay, we're going to get Gemma back together with us. But first, why should folks come out to the center in winter? What is it about winter that's so great about the World Center for
Sure.
Birds of Prey?
I was just at one of the large zoos on a vacation that I just took in North America, and there was so many people that were out. And I got to thinking about the experience that we offer at the World Center for Birds of Prey. It is a chance for people to talk with subject matter experts on conservation and on raptor biology, and to really have a unique and personal experience. We try to give everybody that visits a personal experience. Now, we do that year round, but in the wintertime, there's much smaller crowds. And so people get a chance to be in this tranquil environment, to explore the trails with nobody else on them, and to really get those encounters with the raptors that are really meaningful to people. We get people outside
You do.
and spend quality time with their family, and people learn in a really fun environment.
It is a great chance to get up close and personal with the birds. We've been speaking with Tate Mason, the director of the World Center for Birds of Prey, about how his raptors handle the winter months south of Boise. We'll put some links on our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. Tate, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Idaho Matters from Boise State Public Radio. I'm Gemma Gaudet.
If you like podcasts like this, explore more from the Boise State Public Radio podcast family. There you'll find a mix of daily news, Idaho Voices, and in-depth series on a wide range of topics. I'm talking wild horses, political scandals, sustainable ranching, and militia groups in a post-January 6th world. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search Boise State Public Radio to find what Idaho's NPR station has in store for you.